Now the OPPO Find X2 Pro here is a great example of everything that's right in the phone industry right now, and also a great example of everything that's wrong. There's a lot to unpack here, so let's get started with the positive. Specs. With one glaring exception, the Find X2 Pro knocks it out of the park. Nearly everything but the kitchen sink is here and working pretty well. Android 10 out of the box with a Snapdragon 865 with 12 gigabytes of RAM. Repeat, 12 gig means that this will be super speedy for years to come, while storage starts at 256 gigabyte with a half terabyte Model 2. Add in very decent true stereo speakers. Here's a demo, full volume. Helped by Dolby Atmos, but still. It's perfectly good enough. Plus IP68 dust and waterproofing, UFS 3.0 speeds for the storage, 65 watt fast charging through USB Type-C, and theoretically a very ambitious triple camera setup. More on that later. Add in a simply gorgeous 6.7 inch, and wait for the acronyms, 1440p HDR10 plus 120Hz AMOLED display, possibly the best screen we've ever seen in the phone world. This, if anything, is the jewel in the Find X2 Pro's crown. Admittedly, my 50-year-old eyes can't really appreciate the subtleties anymore, but even I can see this is a great screen, and I suspect a significant part of the bill of materials. It's dual SIM and 5G and can be used and juggled through numerous countries with ease. Dual band Wi-Fi 6, Bluetooth 5.1 with LE. Again, you can't fault the connectivity options. Well, perhaps I'd have liked desktop mode as per Samsung Dex, but hey, OPPO hasn't coded one yet. The form factor is just about as large as I'd like to go, but it works with almost a 20:9 aspect ratio, curved display edges and tiny bezels. The Find X2 Pro does a great job of delivering the maximum content and interface without the phone seeming to be ridiculously large. The optional always-on display is terrific with time, date, battery and colour notification icons, and the display moves around once a minute to stop any AMOLED burn-in. It's done right. Now, I've used and loved always-on displays on my phone since they appeared on Nokia's Symbian S60 handsets in the mid-2000s, right through all the Lumias, but 15 years later they're starting to become ubiquitous, at least on Android flagships, happily. The camera setup includes a 5x periscope telephoto, and this is superb if you've ever wanted to get optically closer to that robin in the garden or to that prison on the moors. Then the new stabilised periscopes work very well indeed. Of course, this doesn't help you at all if you just wanted to zoom at 2x, 3x, 4x. So it's a bit of a specialist facility, but it's done well enough here. So 6 great reasons why the OPPO Find X2 Pro is one to look out for then. Not least because, unlike its rival Huawei, also with great screens and periscope zoom, there's no trade war going on with the USA, so you get full Google services and the Play Store. ColorOS 7.1 includes an optional app drawer mode, so you can decide whether it behaves like classic Android or like iOS. There's a choice of navigation and gestures. I had mine set up as per iOS and Google's Android 10 and had no issues. Off to the left of the home screen is OPPO's optional smart assistant, which includes a step tracker and weather, but otherwise seems very minimalist, almost an afterthought. Ditto to sidebar, smart sidebar, that is a fledgling copy of Samsung's Edge panels. But hey, you don't have to use any of this. However, I have to report that the Find X2 Pro is also symptomatic of things that are, in my opinion, wrong with the flagship phone world in the last 18 months. It's too expensive. Ever since Apple pushed the $1,000 barrier with the iPhone 10 in 2017, some other phone manufacturers have been raising prices in lockstep, even though they don't have the store and support network, even though they don't plan to support their phones as well with updates, even though they haven't put as much R&D into imaging or battery life. There are reasons why it may be okay to pay so much for a top-of-the-range iPhone. There's no reason whatsoever why an Android flagship should be up at this level though, however clever its periscope lens or display. Super materials, totally wasted. I loved the vegan leather on the back of the phone, but despite the feel in the hand, it won't ever get felt by a real user because of the phone's price. See reason 1 just now. At this level, you don't want the Find X2 Pro getting broken, and OPPO knows this. So they ship a lovely, clear TPU case in the box. Well done and all that, but Why did you bother with the leather when far cheaper textured plastic would have saved a lot of money and looked identical? It drives me mad that so many phone companies wax lyrical on the materials used and their design when the very prices charged mean that no one ever gets to see and feel a naked phone in real life. Imaging. Yes, the 5x periscope zoom lens is all well and good, as I mentioned earlier, but photos taken on the main 48 megapixel sensor are somewhat ruined by excessive edge enhancement. I say ruined in quotes because to the untrained eye, photos pop off the phone screen and results are striking. I was prepared for this to be a camera phone champion looking at the specs, but if you look more closely, the eye-popping images on the phone screen are achieved by hefty amounts of edge enhancement, turning brick walls to over-mortared grids and grass to speckled mush. This is typical of what I've seen from the Galaxy S20 series, and again I bemoan the trend. What the Pixel 4 and the like deliver are about as contrasting and as sharp as I ever want phone cameras to go, and the trend for making phone screen and social consumers happy at the expense of image quality isn't one I for one welcome. The in-screen fingerprint scanner, a hobby horse of mine. Now, optical scanners have been getting a lot better, but they're still at the mercy of fingerprints being damaged by COVID-19, heavy hand washing and general use. With the Find X2 Pro and other handsets, I've been having to re-register thumbprints once a month or so to keep accuracy up. Again, it's a trend I'd like to have seen bypassed in favour of 3D secure face recognition as on the iPhones and the Pixel 4 series, which are faster and way more secure and reliable. Having said that, there's a basic face unlock on the Find X2 Pro that works very well for just getting you into the phone with a glance. Just make sure any private information is locked up securely inside properly authenticated apps and sites. This last one's a biggie for me, and given the OPPO's price, possibly for others, Qi wireless charging is a nice to have feature for mid-range phones, but an absolute necessity for flagships. When you're paying way over £1,000 for a phone, you do not expect it to lack Qi charging. Everyone else, including even holdouts OnePlus, seem to have now embraced wireless charging, and I cannot explain why it's missing here. For the Find X2 Pro, it all adds up to some kick-ass but slightly flawed hardware being sold at too high a price. And with no Google badge or local support and procurement through less than common channels, at least as I write this needs to be down well below, say £700 to stand a chance. Away from price, if OPPO were to tone down the totally unnecessary edge enhancement in its camera, I might just be interested. Qi charging, of course, it can only rectify in the X3 Pro, but imaging at least can be fixed in software updates. So let's watch OPPO through the rest of 2020. This is the Find X2 Pro.